Hey, it's After the Gig. I'm Jesse Humphrey, and today on the show, I have the great Billy Ferguson. Billy was the former sound engineer for Red, Wanting Blue and also Carbon Leaf back in the day. He is currently the house sound guy at the Harvester in Roanoke, Virginia. Let's not waste any time, and let's get into it with the great Billy Ferguson. Billy.
When I get a Grammy, you're gonna be the first person I call.
Oh, dude, I expect you to, I mean, you should just give me the Grammy, right?
I can give you
Can
the
I
Grammy.
have it?
You can have it. You can have
All right, thanks.
it. You're welcome.
So you've been doing this since you were 18?
Professionally, since I was 18, I started running sound when I was probably 16 in my high school, and just do the. I was a band nerd in high school. The drama department reached out to me and stuff, being like, "Hey, microphones." I didn't even know what a soundboard, like any of the knobs and stuff. Like I didn't know what anything did and stuff, but I wanted to learn. So started doing sound for the drama department. And first production I ever did was Damn Yankees, and that was pretty cool as a 16-year-old to control 16 lav mics and stuff when I had no idea what any of it did. So I wasn't even knowledgeable enough to know to replace the batteries in the transmitter packs and stuff. So,
Oh,
it's like running up on stage being like, I guess it's like, you don't know what you don't know until you do it. And
yeah,
so,
you figure it out as you
um,
go.
yeah, but then, yeah, 18 came around, and I was freshman in Radford, and I wanted to be a special ed teacher for elementary school. So I was going through all my like student teaching stuff and everything, and I reached out to Pat Hester
Mm.
from Jam Java, and I was just like, I want to learn how to do stuff. And so literally 5 minutes later, he emailed me back, and yeah, it pretty much. What was the first show? I can't remember the first show, but yeah, he basically Jam and Java just learned how to start coiling XLR cables properly, and the rest is history. I changed my major at Rad. I didn't drop out. I almost dropped out because live sound was just. I felt like I finally found that like true passion that I was. It's like holy crap, something that I'm like good at, or at least decent at. And,
Hmm.
whenever I'm going home from work, I find myself still YouTubing stuff and searching stuff online at 2 a.m. And it's like, I never got that with other jobs. Other jobs were just jobs, not, passions and stuff. So it's,
Right.
it's the first thing I ever did that I was like, holy crap, I can see myself doing this for forever and stuff. And so, which,
It's awesome.
definitely made the pandemic difficult for all of us to try and figure out, okay, if I'm not able to do this thing that I've been able to support myself financially, but also support my passions. What am I going to do? So, really happy that now that the pandemic has is in our past. I'm actually sitting in the production office of the Harvester in Rocky Mount right now, so able to come back to live music full time and stuff, and I'm sure all of us are feeling that. But
Yeah, for sure. It's it was definitely a pretty wild time. But you when you were in high school doing the sound and stuff for those productions and stuff, you didn't get that feeling then. It took until after you went to college to realize, oh, this is something I can actually do.
yeah, it was after working at Jam and Java and working with Pat and stuff, because at you probably know about this at Jam and Java. It's definitely an anomaly of a music venue where you'll have a morning kids show at 10 a.m. It's still a show for little kids, but you're still selling 200 tickets. You're still sound checking a band. You're still it's all the work is still the same. So,
Right.
we'll do a morning show, a matinee acoustic show, an evening rock show, and then a late night reggae show. And so it was kind of just we were just kind of thrown into it, and we would just do 3 to 4 shows in one day, go home, and I would find myself still being like, man. I want more of this. I want, I don't feel burnt out at all. I feel more like energized and stuff.
Right. And it is an anomaly too, because it's like it's in a strip mall basically. It's
Yeah.
it's it's a weird place to have a venue, and Jam and Java is like everybody knows Jam and Java. It's
Yeah.
it's such a rad place. How long has Pat Hester been there? He's just been there forever, I guess.
So I started working there. I started interning there, excuse me, when in 2008 or 2009, and Pat had been there for like a solid 3 or 4 years before that. Him and Anthony Fiacco, who now lives in Nashville. And so, yeah, so Pat had been there for a little bit, and Pat, even if you ask him about, you know, because we all grow up, but like probably me when I was 18, I drove like the dorkiest looking Ford Focus. My license plate was literally Fergie, but Fergie was taken, so it was Phergi, and I never even like touched a cigarette before in my life, and here Pat is on the porch and everything, already a seasoned touring sound engineer. And then here I come like, hi, I'm Billy. And he's probably just like, Jesus, what the heck did I get myself into? And so, but it ended up, I mean, I learned so much in that room. And you're absolutely right. It's in a strip mall. You look at it in the front. Directly to your right is a Walgreens, and directly to your left, when I started working there, it was a Stall Cup Hardware. It was a hardware store, and so which makes no sense and stuff. So they transferred locations. Then a mattress store um, moved in, and which makes absolutely even more no sense because people are searching for mattresses and shopping for mattresses, 3 p.m., 4 p.m. when they get off of work and stuff. That's when bands are loading in for like the loud shows to sound check and everything. So you think that we would be butting heads with the owner of this establishment, but he actually ended up, had a really good relationship with him. His name's Nathan. And he would allow us to like lay on his super swanky $20,000 mattresses in between shows and stuff.
$20,000 mattress.
Yeah, they had horsehair in them. They were called the company was Vice Spring mattresses. They're pretty ridiculous. But he loved being next to a music venue. He would text me and be like, hey, like if it was a reggae show sound check and there was somebody shopping for a mattress and somebody's blasting a bass amp through the wall and stuff, he would of course be like, hey, any way you can help us out and stuff. And we had such a great relationship with them that we were able to work with them. Even if we had a guest engineer, we would have them trim the subs 6 dB or so, and then once the doors open, we would just let the whole system run wide open. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, but so, sorry, I'm going on a tangent, but like you walk into Jam and Java though, after seeing the Walgreens and the hardware store or the mattress store, and you're like, this is going to be weird. But then you walk in and you're like, I totally get it,
Yeah.
And you see the vibe. It's kind of like 930 Club, where you walk in and you can just instantly feel, the magic and stuff. And
yeah, you're transported into this venue.
Yeah, exactly.
It's pretty rad. So you didn't have any. So where did the idea to go to school for teaching, like where did that come from?
I don't know. I was always like a goody two shoe student growing up and stuff. I was never a straight A student. I was definitely a B, C student and stuff. But I always enjoyed school, and I always enjoyed. I don't know. It was something I wanted to do. I guess I enjoyed teaching and stuff, and I think because when things clicked in my head, and like I knew how much joy I got and stuff, I guess, and so I wanted to do that. And when I student taught in high school a little bit, and I really kind of enjoyed. Well, everybody always was talking about how there's always a teaching shortage with special ed, and so I kind of was like, I want to try and do that. So I was going to get certification for elementary school with an emphasis with special ed. But after I met Pat and started doing stuff at Jam and Java, my advisor at Radford was like, hey, so you still want to do this? And so I think it was sophomore, junior year, I changed my majors completely to a TV studio production degree, which, because they didn't even have an audio production degree there.
Mm-hmm.
It was just TV studio production. So got a degree in TV studio production, and then every weekend, every other weekend, I would go home to Jam and Java, or I would do gigs around town at Radford and stuff, and like Blacksburg. Yeah.
So when did you finally get on the road? Was Carbon Leaf your first road gig?
Carbon Leaf was my first like big boy, like full-time road gig and stuff. Honor by August from the DC area.
I don't think so.
Like Michael Pearsall, Evan Field, Brian Shanley, Chris Raffetto. They when I was interning at Jam and Java, they were the first. Honor by August was the first band that was like, come here, little Billy, like we'll help you out. And they allowed me to.
Were you really that impressionable when you were younger?
you know. I mean, it's funny you say that because I'm very happy to have been, or very fortunate to have been kind of in the network of bands that we're involved in and stuff. Because I mean, all y'all are, I'm still still consider myself the young one in the entire network of the bands that you and I work with and stuff.
I think
And
you and I are like the same age, right? What?
how old are you?
How? I'm 36.
Oh, I'm about to turn 34. So
Oh,
hey,
okay.
we're young. Um,
Yay!
but yeah, I don't know. Like I just whenever getting on the road with like Carbon Leaf, Honor by August, like Red, White, Blue, Alternate Roots and stuff, nobody. It wasn't a bad lifestyle. If you kind of catch my drift, like they're all family
Yeah.
dudes. They're all they have wives, girlfriends, kids, and stuff. And so it was definitely like a breath of fresh air. But mainly it was kind of just inspirational to be like, oh, cool, I can be a good dude and do this and stuff. It's not just because you're touring on the road isn't a bad environment and stuff. And it's definitely not the case with most bands and stuff. But anyways, back to your question. Honor by August was the first one that kind of allowed me or just took a chance on me and stuff. And then when I was a junior in college, Terry gave me a call and asked to try me out for it was 3 dates, and all of them were different. It was a club date, a festival date, and then some other festival date and stuff. So three logistically completely different types of shows and stuff. And then after that short run, Barry called me and then offered me the full time gig and stuff. So I would say yeah, Carbon Leaf was the first band full time that I started getting on the road with and stuff, and actually took me gave me a chance and stuff as a young guy still in college.
What was your impression of those first 3 shows?
So, well, I'll tell you my first impression of the first show I ever saw of Carbon Leaf was at Attitudes in Blacksburg. It was a Holiday Inn Express that had a bar attached to the side of it. And so it was basically Carbon Leaf playing at the Holiday Inn Express. And I thought it was the coolest freaking show on the planet. And I remember like thinking to myself, I want to do this. Like, this is the stuff I want to do. I want to work for a band like this. And it never even dawned on me that I was like good enough and everything. And maybe that was just a lack of confidence on my end and just kind of growing up and stuff. But I remember just, we then were playing Tots, top of the stairs in Blacksburg for a fraternity event called Sud Flood. And Honor by August was opening up for Carbon Leaf. And Terry just kind of hung out with me at front of house while I was mixing Honor by August and was like, damn, dude, this sounds good. And so like,
That's a really good Terry impression.
thanks. And so he like ever since I don't know, it was like holy crap, like and but like I didn't feel nervous in front of them because I felt like I was kind of on my A game that day. And yeah, and so but yeah, I those first 3 shows at Carbon Leaf, I remember because this is before everybody had smartphones. I think I had a Razor flip phone. And um, I I didn't they hired me as a tour manager and sound engineer. I had never tour managed, and Carbon Leaf told me pretty much like you're just gonna be booking hotel rooms and just like little things like that. And I'm like, I can book a hotel room, um, and so I had everything written down on sheets of paper. I didn't even have a laptop computer. I had an iMac, so I didn't have a laptop computer, and I literally had on like lined notebook paper that I ripped out, just like first date, Allentown, Pennsylvania. Second date, it was I think Mountain Jam or something like that in New York. And then the other one was a festival at Massanutten Resort. And so I remember being like super intimidated, but also just like almost in disbelief because I was just sitting in the van before y'all got the bus. I'm sitting in the van, sitting next to Barry, and I remember being like, "Man, I'm in disbelief that I'm like actually here right now. I'm not even 21, and I'm touring with like a big band in my eyes. Like they're a big band." And then all of a sudden, Barry starts drinking out of a McFlurry and stuff because I guess he heard that I hate the sound of whipped cream coming through straws and stuff. And so he's just staring at me literally a foot away from my face, just like slurping up whipped cream. And maybe that was his way of like breaking the ice or like seeing that I was nervous and stuff like that. And so it kind of taught me that, you can't really take yourself too seriously.
Right.
and it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to do all that and everything. But I was very nervous. I was
That's
very, very
awesome.
nervous. Yeah.
Fun fact, a similar thing to that, because I like to do that to the guys, because when I know that they're uncomfortable with something, like Barry hates hard boiled eggs, and and every time, like if I can get, I love hard boiled eggs. So does John. So whenever I get them and he comes on back on the bus, I'll like sit at his seat and say and like show Barry the hard boiled eggs. Like, hey, do you want some hard boiled eggs? Like, I'll just. It's like
You throw them at him?
no, I don't throw them at him, but like just the smell and him looking at them makes him like gag, and he has to like get off the bus.
I know that he didn't like yolks because we'd be at so my first gig actually, oh my gosh, I can't believe I forgot about this. Do you guys still go to Cracker Barrel a lot?
No, that's the thing. Like we when I first joined the band, we used to talk about it, or they used to talk about Cracker Barrel all the time. And I think I've been to one Cracker Barrel with the guys, maybe the first year that I joined the band, and we haven't been to one since. Never.
Probably because you guys have a bus now, maybe.
Probably. And they're
Yeah.
We never see them around.
Yeah. I don't know. We would when I was working for y'all, I would the band would just get Cracker Barrel and Dunkin' Donuts gift cards all the time. So we'd always get like Mama's pancake breakfast. But me having a nervous stomach, my first gig, they're always like, Billy, we're gonna go out and get some Cracker Barrel and stuff. So I sit and I literally get water and 2 pieces of white toast with no butter on it and stuff. And yeah, it was. But Barry would order, I think he would order scrambled eggs, but he didn't like the yolk or something. And so I remember always teasing him about it and stuff. But yeah, I can't remember. He would always he knew that I didn't like. Both him and John knew that I didn't like the like mouth noises and stuff. And does Barry still brush his teeth in the bus and everything? Or yeah, so he would do that right next to my face and stuff, and like just yeah, I love Barry so much. Barry, if you're watching this, I'm not making fun of you.
That's great. Yeah, I don't. Yeah. It's funny because I don't like mouth noises either. Like I'm the kind of person that if I'm out to dinner with my family or something, or if I'm eating dinner or whatever with people, I will finish and I'll get up and excuse myself because I can't listen to everybody else eat.
Dude, you are welcome in my home anytime. I feel like we would get along very well. We'd eat in separate rooms. We'd have the best friendship ever. It's gonna be awesome.
We eat with noise canceling.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's I mean, it's gross. It's gross.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, no one can be like into that sound. You know.
There's weird stuff on YouTube that I stumble along, and it's like
ASMR stuff.
Yeah, ASMR stuff, and somebody will be like slurping up. Literally, it's like a huge thing full of like noodles, and they're just like, and it's literally like it has like 4.5 million views, and it's like, what am I literally think that I'm like fulfilling my passion, my dream, and everything, and getting along financially just fine and stuff. But this person who's slurping up noodles is probably rolling in cash right now just from that one.
Oh yeah.
YouTube,
Totally. It's so frustrating.
For the rest of this video, I'm going to eat some spaghetti.
I just happen to have spaghetti right here.
Right.
Is it true that you quit because of John and his jokes?
No.
That's a question from John himself.
Nope. John. So there was, I think, obviously when anybody quits, leaves a band or anything, there's, going to be a little sensitive like time and stuff. And I think that the initial reaction after I kind of announced that I was going to leave and stuff was, because my wife being, and like my wife and I are both Christian and everything, but like we have a sense of humor. We're not, total tightwads and everything. And so John would totally like crack jokes every now and then. And, like simple stuff and everything. Like, I'd be eating some Cheez-Its and John would be like, oh, Billy's eating some Cheez-Its, or like something like that, or like other funny jokes and stuff that obviously they're jokes. Obviously, like we all have a sense of humor and stuff, but no, didn't quit because of John's jokes and stuff. John's one of my closest friends. John, like John was, I mean, this kind of goes back to when I, kind of building confidence and being a 20-year-old with, that got asked to work for a band who had already been on the road for 20 years. I'm learning so much stuff, and it's easy to take things personally if you're super new at it and stuff. And so, and only being 20. And so before y'all got the bus, we would all just be in hotel rooms, 2 double hotel rooms every night. John was my bunk buddy. And so I was very fortunate to have John as a roommate and stuff, because he would sit down with me and be like, hey man, I think that these are some things you could improve on. And he approached it. And this is from a tour management aspect, because I didn't know how to tour manage. I'd never tour managed before. So he would approach it from a stance of like, this isn't a personal thing. This is just something that's going to help you and us out. And it's just going to get you better and stuff. And so John was, man, I learned so much from John just from those conversations of him being like, let's talk about it. All we're having is a conversation. And so,
Right.
no, I definitely didn't leave the band because of John's jokes. So, I can go into it and everything. It's not anything negative, or anything really. It's just,
Sure, go for it.
honestly, I think a lot of it was a timing thing. As I said, just being super young, with a band who'd already been on the road for 20 years and stuff. I think I personally had some growth that I needed to go through. As an individual, as a tour manager, as a sound engineer and stuff. I think I had the sound thing quite down quite well and stuff, but definitely in my early 20s, I could take things personally, or any early 20-year-old
As
is
we
going
all
to go.
do.
Yeah, it's going to go through some growth. Just looking at the past 10 years from 23 to 33 and stuff. Anybody should see some growth, some positive growth. And so, I think I think a lot of it was me needing some growth, honestly, and stuff. And I think that because of that, at that time, it probably wasn't a good fit and stuff. However, it doesn't mean that it's like we're gonna damage the relationship. It's nothing like that. So linked y'all up with Doug and stuff. I remember speaking with Doug in the back parking lot of Jam and Java, and wanted to make sure that Carbon Leaf was taken care of by somebody who I trusted, but more importantly, who I felt like was going to be a good tour manager, because the 2 to 3 years that I worked for Carbon Leaf, it was kind of like, okay, like this is what a tour manager um, really does, and this is what a tour manager, like what the band needs from the tour manager and stuff. And so I think that um, I honestly I think it was just a big timing thing, with me being super young and just maybe just needed to grow a little bit more and stuff. But yeah, you've seen me at different Carbon Leaf gigs, and
Yeah.
always happy to come out and hang out and fill in. And and I talk to John, on a regular basis, just getting advice and all that stuff. But yeah, there's no like negative feelings towards Carbon Leaf, and they know that too and stuff. I've talked to the guys. So
Well, I know there's a bunch of negative feelings, I mean, towards coming your way, but that's cool. That's cool that you're cool with them. So anyway, so the next question, so when you left Carbon Leaf, when you left them in the dust, did you was Red Wanting Blue the next thing? Was that the next opportunity, or was there an in between?
So a gentleman named oh gosh, was John Hardage. He would book a lot of the Neptune's Park shows on Virginia Beach. So knew him pretty well through Carbon Leaf, and he also managed the Whalers. Not the original Whalers, but the Whalers. There's 2 of them, I guess. And so they asked me to come out to run sound for them, and I was like, well, that seems like a cool opportunity. And that was like very soon after. That was like 2 weeks after after the Carbon Leaf stuff happened. And so I went out with them for 2 weeks. Didn't work out so well. So I left that tour. Just
Was
for
that just a vibe thing, or was there any
crew
other
vibe
particular?
thing. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah. Crew vibe thing and stuff, and just hearing how, yeah, crew vibe thing. So,
Gotcha.
and so I was out back of what's the Birmingham, Alabama venue? Um,
Oh,
Workplay.
it's
Workplay.
yeah, workplay. Yeah,
Yeah.
I
So
actually never played there. I was supposed to play there one time, but it actually got canceled. So
okay.
I never played there. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. During that time while I was with the Whalers, Red, White, Blue did reach out and they're like, "Hey, we know it's kind of short notice, but would you want to come out with us and stuff?" I said no a couple times actually, just because honestly, just out of respect for Carbon Leaf, I didn't want it to be a, hey, I'm, you know, dating my ex's sister kind of thing, whatever, And so,
Right.
so I said
Played a
no a
little
couple.
hard to get. You had to play hard to get.
Yeah, And so, but it was mainly just a respect thing for Carbon Leaf and everything. I didn't want them to be like, what the heck, man? And so, but I was at work play and I was like, I'm not going to be with this band for much longer. And Greg just calls me out of the blue and he's like, hey man, we got some shows coming up. I know it's a weird thing, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Is there any way we can just push that like to the side? Like, can you please just come out? Like, we really need to find a good front of house guy for these. Like, it wasn't just like club shows. They had some like pretty high caliber, like Indianapolis shows, Columbus, Ohio shows and stuff. So I was like, you know what? Sure, I'll come out and stuff. And so, yeah, and then was with Red, White, and Blue for about 7.5 years maybe. And yeah, it's great.
It's awesome. And then
Yeah.
like I always feel like you have like just listening to this, just having this conversation with you, it just seems like you're pretty conscious of your like growth and the things that you need to do going forward. And another, kind of putting two and two together is that you went on to be a firefighter. So you left Red, White, and
Yeah.
Blue to follow that. So what's that all about?
So yes, I was with Alternate Roots and Red, White, and Blue during that time. So I had to break the news to two people or
I
to
actually
two bands.
I didn't even realize that you did sound for Alternate Roots. I don't
Yeah.
know why I didn't put that together or
It
didn't know that.
started with it started with Red, White, and Blue and the Sounds Like Summer tour, which was like co-headlining with Red, White, and Blue and AR. And so first gig, they were like, "Do you want to run sound for us too?" And so cut Red, White, and Blue a deal and cut Alternate Roots a deal, so
Mm-hmm.
everybody was winning. And yeah, and so whenever we were off the road and stuff, Alternate Roots would call me for some of their shows and yeah, I love both bands. Dean from Red, White, and Blue would always, because I mean, look at me. I'm wearing an Alternate Roots shirt right now.
Yeah.
I have an Alternate Roots tattoo, and so when I got the Alternate Roots tattoo, um, Dean like he starts like lifting up my sleeves and everything. He's like, "Where's where's our tattoo, man? Where's what gives?" Like so, but yeah, I would say Red, White, and Blue was like the full time. Alternate Roots would call me out when they had larger shows and stuff like that, and I went on a couple runs with them too. But yeah, I love those guys.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So what made you want to become a firefighter?
So I had sorry, I dropped my chapstick.
Unbelievable.
I know. So when I think it just got to a point um with when I was working for Jam and Java and Union Stage and Miracle Theater, because Jam and Java they were booking all these rooms, and so I got a promotion that kind of allowed me to PM three venues at once, and I thought I could handle it as a 25-year-old, and so I had to get an assistant production manager, Devin Runco and stuff, and even then it was a lot of work and stuff, specifically with two venues were tour bus parking, where
Mm.
90% of the shows coming through are tour bus, and we couldn't even park tour buses at a couple of venues and stuff, and it was just difficult logistically to be at one venue, but then getting phone calls from another venue about parking, and so it was hard to navigate that, and I feel like I was maybe just getting a little bit burnt out, and so around that time, just coincidentally, I had I just always had a bunch of firefighters from Loudoun County in Northern Virginia, and they were in a hiring process, and they were like, "Dude, just apply. We think you have the best personality for like fire EMS. We think you do well." And I'm like, I'm not this huge muscular dude like that a firefighter needs to be, and they're like, "You'll be fine." So, um, And then around that time, my wife was supposed to move up to Northern Virginia from Roanoke, and she's from Johnson City, Tennessee. So Roanoke is still big for her. And so my wife calls me and she's like, I don't think I can do Northern Virginia. Like she doesn't even know what this whole road is. And so, you know, so which is good. And so we spent about a week just kind of weighing the pros and cons of me moving down here versus her moving up there. And it was clear as day that I it was time for me to move down here and stuff. So actually linked up Doug back with or not back up with them, but offered Doug the PM position and everything for like Jam and Job, the Union Stage, Miracle Theater and stuff. And so he took that job up and everything. And yeah, so I moved down to Roanoke, and I was like, you know what, I think I'm burnt out on audio a little bit. I'm gonna try the fire EMS thing out. So my driving record wasn't that good, living in
No,
Northern Virginia, and so I had like -6 or -7 points on my driving record from just speeding.
Billy.
Dude, hey, personal growth, right? And so and so I
Holy
wouldn't get
crap.
I had to apply multiple times to the fire department, which was it would dude, it's an intimidating process because you're in front of a whole panel, everyone's asking you, it's a whole thing. It's not just going into like a normal interview and stuff. Like it's multiple interviews, multiple panels. It's almost like an interrogation. So didn't get I had to apply 2 or 3 times before I got in, but before
And
that,
that's just to get you into like
the academy.
into the academy. Like you don't do any preparation before those kind. I guess there's no point in doing it. It's like if they're not going to let you in, they're not going to let you in. But
Yeah, so yeah, the first interview process is a panel interview by like a few of the lieutenants and supervisors and stuff. And so that interview, so in Roanoke Valley, the academy is involved or is encompassed of Roanoke City, Roanoke County, the city of Salem, and Botetourt County Fire EMS. So 4 different agencies we train under one academy. So with that, you have 4 people from each agency in one line asking you all questions and stuff. That's just for the first interview. Then if you get a call back, then you do the chief's interview, and it's the deputy chief and the chief of each agency asking you questions and stuff. And so you have to have 4 different interviews depending on what agency you want to work for. And so yeah, so it's a whole process and everything. They told me in the interview they had my driving record from the DMV, and they're like, "What's this?" And I was like, "I know for a fact that I'm not going to get hired. I just wanted to introduce myself and let you guys know I'm going to be back next year." And so so that's how that went. So I worked for Roanoke City 911 as a 911 operator for a few months. Because you know you're not driving a vehicle behind a computer. So I thought that would get my foot in the door to work for Roanoke City. It didn't. So I applied with the whole process again. During that time, I got my EMT through Cave Spring Rescue Squad, and I volunteered. And I was only allowed in the back of the ambulance, not driving, because my driver record is still terrible. And so they only allowed me in the back of the ambulance. And then, yeah, and then when I was working for Roanoke City 911, I got a call from the chief of Botetourt County, and they offered me a full-time job with that. And so a month after was when Academy started. And then a month into Academy was when COVID happened. And
oh
so,
wow, that's
so
crazy.
timing worked out perfectly because at that time I also had a pregnant wife, and having a full-time job with full benefits with a pregnant wife at home was something that, I mean, it definitely took care of us during a really hard time.
Pretty solid, pretty
Yeah.
solid. And I remember you describing to me, because you ended up going back to doing sound and becoming the head sound guy at the Harvester and all that stuff. And we'll get into that. But I thought it was interesting when we talked at Sea Leaf, and you mentioned that you just like weren't into the firefighting anymore because like
Yeah.
the dudes were super gung ho about like
Yeah.
they wanted that call, like they wanted to
Yeah.
go, and you just didn't feel like you didn't have that same kind of excitement
Yeah.
towards
Absolutely.
fires.
I remember my first, so yeah, I thought that I would love fire. I thought it would be, because it's like your typical, you see firefighters and you're like, man, that's like, that dude's cool, and like, I thought it would just be a cool job, but going wee woo down the street is 1% of the job. You know, it's like, and that's fun, like
Going
screaming.
wee woo down the
Yeah.
street.
But like,
That's
yeah, like
hilarious, dude.
screaming down the street and stuff. Like it's fun, but the job starts when you get off the truck. And so after I knew even in academy and stuff when we were doing our live burns and stuff, because we like, it wasn't like propane, we actually like lit stuff on fire and then put it out. And so um, which is fun obviously, but I remember like during my first academy fire being like, eh, cool. And then like during my after academy, I was a rookie, and usually they put the rookies on the nozzle of the hose and everything, and then your lieutenants or your captains behind you with their hand on your shoulder, and they want you to be first in on the fire just to get the experience. And so
Mm.
I remember my first fire, and it was like your stereotypical, you know, flames up in the roof and everything like that. And I remember just like thinking to myself, I do not like this. And I was like, you know, trying to put it out. And so like, I thought I would like fire, thought I would hate EMS, and completely flip flopped. And really, and I still do love EMS and everything. I just, you know, you have to keep your certifications up and everything. And with live music coming back full swing, I just didn't have time to keep my certifications up. So I let that lapse and stuff. But yeah, I ended up riding the medic truck for most of my career and stuff. I would only ride the engine if somebody called out sick, or if my lieutenant was like, Ferguson, like stop being a weenie, get on the truck. And so I'm like, all right, cool. So, but even if you're on the medic truck, actually, we still have all of our fire gear and stuff. So, you know, we'd still go into a fire, you know, if you're on the medic truck. But and if you're full time in, at least with this agency in Virginia, you have to do both fire EMS simultaneously. So they usually put you on the medic truck for 2 shifts and the engine for a third shift or something like that. But if you're when I moved part time with the fire department, you could be only EMS, and so that's what I chose to do.
Are you are you completely out of it now, or is it something you still kind of
Yep.
dabble in?
I still stop at the station a bunch and everything if
Sure.
I need to pee or something like that. But
Deliver
um,
cookies.
yeah, yep. So you know, I'm still friends with a bunch. I actually had to call 911 on a power washing job uh, 2 weeks ago
Oh
because
no.
I was going to the backyard and I smelled gas, and so I looked down and the regulator on the gas meter was just spewing out natural gas. So I called the non-emergency number, and then they're like, "Oh, we're going to forward you over to Botetourt, even though this is Roanoke County." And so the same engine and the same crew that I used to operate with and everything came off, and they're like, "What the heck are you doing, man?" So
Oh man. It's like you can do
yeah,
this yourself.
right, yeah, nope,
No. That seems scary.
yeah, but
Gas smells gas smells are the scariest thing ever. That's one of my biggest fears as a new homeowner is just the smells.
yeah,
Like if something pops up, you know, we have everything kind of runs on gas and stuff here. And we have a heater in a 3-season room that we have, and you have to like light the pilot and stuff. And that's like, I got my dad to come over and be like, can you help me light this pilot? Cause I'm
yeah.
super afraid of it.
Nerve-wracking, you know. And it's like,
Yeah.
certain gases lower or rate. You know, if it's propane's slightly heavier than natural gas, so it's gonna
Mhm.
it's gonna get closer to the ground. Natural gas is a little lighter than air, so you'll smell that faster. But yeah, it's
Oh,
it's it's
interesting.
scary stuff. Yeah,
Yeah, I don't mess around with it, especially with all like every warning on the side of the thing is just like it will explode if you look at
yeah,
it wrong, you know.
yeah. Right.
It's crazy. So now being back at the Harvester, what's that, or being at the Harvester, is that a good balance for you? Are you happy where you're at right now? Do you see yourself maybe going on the road and doing things like that, or are you super cool where you're at right now? It seems like a pretty
I
great gig.
Man, it's a great gig. I am super happy here. I feel like I'm working in a Parks and Rec episode a lot of times because the venue's owned by the town, but operated by us, and we work really closely with the town management as well. And they're wonderful to work with. They allow us to have our like creative freedom and stuff, and to not have this be um, like a community center type thing. It's like this is a music venue first, and so but it's a yeah. I was pulling the ambulance into the back of the station at like 11 p.m. a few years ago, and that's when I got a call for the Harvester gig. And so I was just like pacing back and forth in front of the fire station, like quietly being like, "Yeah, I think I can work there," like and and so, but yeah, I love working here. It's logistically for load in and load out. As you know, that's one of the most important things. There's certain venues where, just the load in for a single 12 like 7x12 trailer will take 90 minutes and stuff. And here, where we park we can park two tour buses and it's a straight 15-foot push up a ramp to the stage, a very small ramp. And so,
It's a fantastic load in at the Harvester.
yeah, and we
You
have,
can have the best venue in the world. If you have an awful load in, I hate that venue. I hate it.
yep. And so it's and we have shore power, two shore power outlets, which is great. Less fuel consumption for the bands and less emissions. People walking on the street aren't going to be walking through diesel exhaust. And I don't know, man. It's there's no, like, my higher ups here. They, if they want something a certain way, they'll tell me. But it's not micromanaging at all. We're a huge team. If somebody calls out sick, they even allowed me to kind of create a fill-in production manager position in case my kid or my wife or me is sick and I need to step away and stuff. They'll allow one of my folks that work with me fill in as production manager. They get a pay bump and everything for those day of show added responsibilities, and that makes them happy too. But yeah, I don't know, man. Harvester's just it's such a cool place. That this our office actually used to be storage. So when I first started working here, they gave me
Nice.
a $200 budget to paint the room, and um, so yeah, we got some couches down here. All the day sheets we have signed by the
Oh, that's
artists, like
awesome.
Ben Folds. You know, uh, so yeah, it's a great. I don't know. Everything. It's almost too good to be true. Like they treat us so well here. The food is great. It's a local company 2 blocks up the street that does all of our catering, and they get 90% of their stuff from the farmers market right across the street. So I don't know. It's yeah. I literally feel like I'm working in a Parks and Rec episode most of the time because it's like this is a little bit too like positive and working too well to be true. So it's a great sounding room.
Yep.
My predecessor, Darren Snyder, he's currently out with Jody Messina right now, I believe. But he was kind of the one that laid a lot of the ground. It was him and Reed Henyon from Stage Sound, which kind of designed the acoustics of the room and stuff. And man, it was like I didn't have to do really anything to have the room be re-operational post-pandemic and stuff. I mean, they laid the groundwork so well, and they're total pros. I mean, those are two dudes again that I've only been doing this so long. They've been doing this decades longer than myself. So to have people like that to kind of lay the groundwork pre-pandemic, and then to have us kind of step in and take it from there was, we're definitely we're very fortunate for that. So
Man, that's cool. And it's such a great place. I think I played there with Kellogg once or maybe twice, and then with Carbon Leaf once or twice.
nice.
I can't remember, but it's such a great spot, man. It's really, really awesome. And it's
Thanks.
funny. It's funny how the elevator goes like from the green room and you just go beep, bing, and you're on stage. It's
You're
pretty
on
sweet.
stage. Yep.
Yeah, it's
Yep.
awesome. So
Yep.
now my big takeaway from talking with you about this is like it's super important for anyone that wants to get into sound or anything like that to just be super curious and take it upon yourself to go and talk to people that are doing it
Yeah.
and get in that way, because you didn't have any kind of formal training on it. You just had to get in there and learn from people that already knew it. What else would you recommend to someone that wants to get into sound or get into venues or just in the touring music world in general?
Yeah. So attitude is probably the number one thing, because I mean, at least from like our job as venue employees, as the house dudes, are to make sure that our attitudes are in check for when the band arrives, because y'all might have experienced a blown tire, food poisoning, somebody's sick, and y'all might not be having the best day and stuff. And so it's our jobs to have a good attitude, make sure that you guys can have a much better day and stuff. But kind of building on that and stuff, just like being a musician, being a sound engineer, you're kind of an artist in yourself too, because you're directly impacting the sound, and you can definitely put some artistic flavor into the signal chain and stuff. And with that, you're going to get some feedback, not the actual noise feedback, but feedback from ticket buyers, from band management, from the band themselves. And dude, I see it all the time where somebody will give an engineer feedback, and they literally, like, they have the worst attitude. They'll kind of throw it back in their face, and they get super defensive about it. And this is specifically also from ticket buyers. It's like if a patron comes up to you and they're like, hey, I can't hear blah 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 blah, it's like, well, obviously they might be standing not in front of the speakers and everything, but it's like, it's not our time to get into a discussion about who's right and who's wrong. It's our job to realize we're representing the band or the venue and stuff, and to say, absolutely, sir or ma'am, I'm going to go ahead and work on that and stuff. And that right there will diffuse any, like, I don't know. Attitude just goes such a far way, in my opinion, when it comes to just, I guess, internal reflection and making yourself better. You're not going to get better if you don't realize if you're doing something wrong or the incorrect way and stuff. And I don't know. I think as I've grown into my 30s and stuff, it's been so apparent how important just attitude is, because things are not going to be perfect. We live in an incredibly imperfect world. Give you an example, just a few days ago, we had spec'd a whole wireless in-ear monitor rig for rental. I was here till like 3 a.m., literally scanning wireless, getting it all patched in, making sure that everything was all good to go for the early load-in we had the following morning. And then, like, 2 of the wireless channels just stopped working and stuff. And, there were a few very unhappy people that were here, which is fine. But, like, I could also be unhappy, or I could focus not on the problem, but the solution.
Right.
And so being solution oriented versus just focusing on the problem, I think is something that a lot of engineers with an improper attitude focus on. They like to be like, they like to ask, well, why did this not happen? Why is it this way? It's like, well, you're taking up all this time and all this energy and stuff. Let's focus on the solution and see how we can, like, fix this issue so the show can go on or doors can open on time. So attitude is the biggest thing.
Those are great points. Like, those are the best engineers I've worked with. Like you, Doug. Currently, we're working with this dude TJ, who's amazing. And the one thing that they all have in common is that, and all the engineers that we've worked with, they all have that one thing in common: is when something goes wrong, or if there's an issue, they look at it as like, oh, this is a thing that I get to fix, or this is a challenge, and let's figure this out. Because it's not only the attitude that is helpful in that situation, it's the opportunity to learn how to fix a situation that you don't have to deal with again. It's being on the road and being on the tour, and I'm sure being an audio engineer is about, creating systems where things don't go wrong, and where you can kind of optimize, like, how to deal with things. But with audio and with cables and with all kinds of stuff is going to happen.
Yeah.
And stuff is going to go wrong, and having that attitude to be able to look at those things as a positive challenge and look at the solutions and try to fix it is, like, it makes a world of difference to literally everybody in the building.
Yeah.
It's such a big deal.
Yeah. I mean, and like, people, so specifically, like, venue staff at venues that are improperly run, a lot of times they don't realize that these touring musicians, they're the ones away from home. They're the ones not sleeping in their bed at night. They're the ones away from their loved ones and everything. So if they have an attitude and stuff, it's don't take it personally. It's probably not you. But they might be just having a bad day. So like try and help them out and everything. So the first thing we do at every single show here is we brew a pot of coffee for every single band. And it's right there at the load-in door. Dude, you have no idea how many attitudes. It's like a flick of a switch. Like people will come in just like,
Yep.
and then like you just be like, hey man, this pot of coffee can probably pave that road out here. Here you go. And then they're like, oh my god, yes. And it's
Yeah.
like it literally changes their attitude, and
That would
so
change my day for sure. I mean,
yeah.
any place, like it's such a small thing, but like anything, it's like if you just go that little extra mile and you show a little bit of thought, it goes such a long way. It's crazy. I had I, it was a manager or maybe one of the it's just a waitress, somebody that was working at Space in Evanston, Illinois, and her name I won't forget her name because she was an angel that day. I was having a blockage, like an intestine, like a Crohn's thing, and I was in so much pain. I was like cold sweats. I probably should have gone to like a hospital or something, but I just knew that if I waited it out, it was going to kind of like work its way through and all that stuff. So I was miserable. I could barely set up my drums. I could barely do anything. And if you know Space in Evanston,
Yeah.
so there's that like small kind of separate room in the big green room. It's like it was probably some kind of isolation booth or something, but you go in, it has couches and stuff. Um, and I went in there, laid on the couch. I had to have like a cold towel over my head. Long story short, I was completely miserable and felt like crap. So I was there, and then this girl comes in. I was like, "Yeah, I'm just really not feeling good." She's like, Is there anything I can like get you?" And you order off the menu there, and or I think there's a menu. I don't know. It's a little bit hazy, but she went out and got me miso soup from the Chinese restaurant right around the corner. Didn't even have to ask or whatever. I didn't ask her to do it or anything like that. She went out of her way to go get something that she knew would make her feel better, that she thought would make me feel better, and brought it to me. And it was just like the nicest gesture ever. And I had it, and I ended up feeling better for the show, and it ended up being a really, really great night. But those little things that people do in venues just to make life easier, it just goes such a long way.
Dude, awesome. I that Evanston space is
It's the
probably
best.
they're like they kind of have a Jam and Java vibe to it a little bit. Maybe that's one of the
For
reasons why I like.
sure. For
Um,
sure. Yeah. It's a cool thing. It's kind of like you wouldn't really think of a venue kind of like that when you go in, it has the bar in the front, and then you go down that long hallway and you're like, oh, I'm in this like really cool space that kind of transports you out of Evanston. You wouldn't think it's in Evanston, but it's really cool.
yeah. Well, dude, I'm sorry that you went through that, but
It was
hey, if
rough.
you come to Harvester, I'll be here. We got two couches right here. Um, I'm pretty good at foot massages.
Now
We'll
you're
we'll,
speaking my
we'll do
language.
that. Yeah.
Belly rubs?
We can do belly rubs.
Belly to belly rubs?
Yeah. Hey, can I show you this little project that this will take like 30 seconds, but can I show you this little project that I'm working on here at the venue?
Yeah, I'd love to.
Yeah. So obviously you know that we live in a incredibly digital world, right? And
Sure.
so um, every engineer nowadays is touring with digital everything, digital. And Doug and I, when Doug Ross and I were fortunate enough that when we started learning underneath Pat Hester at Jam and Java, we still had an analog board at Jam and Java, and so we at least got to learn on analog signal flow, broken analog cables and stuff, and so we got some really good experience with that. But you don't really see analog consoles really anymore. Even it's pre-pandemic, like 2016, 17, 18 and stuff, House of Blues, you'd still see an analog console. Most of them are now digital, but
Mm.
um, Harvester being such a nice listening environment, I think it would be a really nice treat to be able to mainly just for the crew, for like the actual engineers, but to be able to provide them an analog option. 930
Interesting.
Club used to do that back in the day. They had an Avid profile out front for digital, but I'm pretty sure they had a Paragon, I think, at front, an analog console. So if you wanted to use the analog console and you weren't touring with your own board, say it was a fly date, you could use analog, and that's super cool. Nobody does that. So I was talking to Kev Moe's engineer when he came through, and he was like, "Oh, we have a smaller version of that board you're talking about, just sitting in a shed." And so I got linked up with them, and I drove down to Franklin, Tennessee, Leaper's Fork, and um, rented a U-Haul.
Oh, what happened?
Sorry, can you see me now?
Yeah.
Sweet, sorry about that. And so, yeah, pretty much got this analog console. Um,
Whoa.
and so it's frozen on my screen, so I don't know if you can see it, but um, pretty
I see
much
it.
got this analog console. One of the power supplies busted, so I'm currently wiring that up and everything. But man, a lot of this gear is from either when I was in high school or from different Virginia sound companies. This is from Soundworks in Virginia, from Steve Payne and Grant. Um, this EQ right here actually was the first one I touched in high school when I was 16. My
Whoa.
band director gave me that. And so it was just kind of like neat. Like it's a neat project. It's with a bunch of gear that um, you know is
That's
sentimental and
rad.
stuff. But most importantly, this board, the actual model of it and stuff is it's very rider friendly, and the footprint's small enough where it'll physically fit in the front of house position at the harvester. So I
So
think
is this
it's
going to
I think it's
be
gonna be more special.
is it going to be in like in place of the digital board or just like alongside it if someone wants to use it?
So we're gonna have it down here. It'll definitely have to be advanced because it doesn't
Right.
physically fit in the elevator. So we have to roll it around the side of the building to get it into the venue. So yeah, so it'll be advanced if folks want to use it. If they want to use the analog console, we will have our digital board as a sidecar right next to them. Heaven forbid, because analog, everything's 20 to 30 years older, and so, heaven forbid something were to fry mid show, we'll have the digital option right there, ready to go. Just hit one button and it'll unmute. So,
Wow.
we've already spoken to a number of guest engineers, because like the green room's actually right there, and so a lot of times we'll just keep the production office door cracked open, and guest engineers will just kind of pop their head and be like, "Is that a what is that?" And they're like, "Why isn't that upstairs?" And so, our my personal timeline for getting this 100% up and running is this fall for our fall rush of shows. And I can totally see, because we have a lot of bands that do fly dates and stuff, and they'll use all of our in-house backline. I could definitely see a number of engineers for our more bluesy, um, you know, that type of genre and stuff use our analog option. And I think that it's just fun and cool, and yeah, it takes so much more work, but it's there's one engineer that described analog consoles perfectly. It's like putting on an old pair of slippers that you haven't put on in a while. It's just like, you put them on, you're like, ah, heck yeah, I haven't yeah, this feels good.
I
And
still
so
feel where
I
my
think,
toes went in 10 years
right,
ago.
right.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I think it's gonna be more special than anything, and it's just gonna be fun and cool. And you just don't, in a world of digital, I think it'll add that much more of like a human element to the concert experience. So I think
Sure.
it's gonna be really cool.
Oh, dude, that's great. Thanks for showing me
Yeah.
that. That's fantastic.
Thanks, man. Yeah.
Do you have any parting thoughts for us? Anything coming up or any shows that you're excited that are coming to the Harvester?
Oh man, we just had a career topping moment for me, at least this past Friday or Saturday when Ben Folds was here. That was just a cool show to, like, their crew. Man, I'm gonna be embarrassed if their crew listens to this, because I'm just gonna be gassing them up the entire time. But they're 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 like an inspiring crew to work with. They're this just older dudes that have been with Ben Folds since the Ben Folds Five, and same thing goes back to attitude. Like we went through so many hoops and red tape to get that show confirmed and everything. Not any issue. Is just trying to get the exact model piano that he requires and stuff, rightfully so. And so we ended up only being able to get our baby grand on stage and everything, but I don't know, it's so cool to see like these super 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 high caliber artists come through with equally as high caliber crew, tour managers, production managers, hospitality people and stuff, and it all goes back to attitude. And like things did go wrong, and like literally it was just a good attitude, and the problems got fixed. Ben was super happy and stuff. Their crew was super happy, and I don't know, I it kind of re-inspired me and like reignited this like light as a production manager and everything of kind of I don't know, it just kind of reinforced the foundation of have a good attitude and everything will fall in place. We do have a number of shows coming up. I'm sorry if we have Christopher Cross coming up that just sold out. We have Steve Earle this Saturday. If you haven't seen Christopher Cross live, dude, that is, his background vocalists are, I'm a sensitive dude, so I've been known to like tear up during songs and stuff like that. But, you know, I tear up every single Christopher Cross set. His background vocalists are literally, they're so, like, their voices are so beautiful, and they're like, I don't know. It's a great show. I'm really excited for Christopher Cross, if you couldn't tell.
Awesome.
So
he had I think it was either Sail Across the Sun or one of the rock boats where Christopher Cross was on. I think it was Sail Across the Sun, the train cruise. And he had Keith Carlock as his drummer. And I don't know if Keith is still touring with him, because Keith plays with Steely Dan, and he's an absolute monster drummer, one of the best drummers ever. And I'm curious if, you know, you'll have to let me know after they play if he had Keith there, because he's unbelievable.
Well, right when they roll in, I'll just barge onto their bus and I'll be like, "Hey, are you Keith?" And
where's Keith?
Where's Keith? Like,
hey.
Jesus. Oh,
I've been waiting I've been waiting an hour to do that.
Dude, so are you using the Hamhorn app or which app?
No, it's a whole podcast mixer I have over here. I can do a ton of stuff over here. Hold on, I got one of John's jokes. You can tell the joke and go.
Nice.
All kinds of stuff. Ooh, that's a nice one. I haven't heard that one before. And then you can do stuff like this.
I'm gonna be a robot. I'm a robot. Damn, nice. That's pretty rad. Cool.
Yeah, I'll never. That's the most I've ever used it.
You're a sound engineer, man. This one time at Jam and Java, we had a hip hop show, and there was like 4 rappers. Every rapper brought their own DJ. They were all sharing the same turntable. They would just insert their USB stick into it for their show, and the opening DJ, you know, doors are like literally like in 30 seconds, and so I'm at front of house, and I'm just like, well, he'll show up when he shows up. And so all of a sudden, guy comes up, "Hey man, I'm the opening guy." I'm like, "Oh, what's up? Good to meet you." He's like, "Where's my DJ at?" And I was like, nobody's introduced themselves as your DJ, but he might be parked in the back. And he's like, "Oh no, I don't have a DJ. Like, you guys are supposed to, I don't know, typically somebody just plays it for me." And I was like, "That's not how this show's working, man." And so he's like, can you play my USB drive?" And I was like, "You want me to be your DJ?" And so he was like, "Yeah, you got DJ." Billy. So I was DJ B, and I put his I put his USB drive into our Windows computer at front of house at Jam and Java, and I'm pretty sure that you could hear, you know how when you like put a USB drive in and you hear the Windows like the saying like, you know, "Hey, we have a USB drive." I'm pretty sure that blasted over the PA system. But as a joke, because every other DJ was doing this that day, they had that. Oh, and so I have that app on my phone. So as another input, I put my phone up to it. And so I put a backdrop with a projector up. It was like the DJ featuring DJ B. And so, because I was like, I'm going to be part of this. And so I was
if we're doing this, we're doing it right.
Yeah, I was like pretending to DJ, even though I wasn't turning any knobs. And then I would like hit the whole after every song and stuff. And dude, he freaking loved it. It was awesome, actually. I would totally do it again.
That's the best.
Yeah,
If music and sound doesn't work out, you can always be a DJ. DJ B.
I could. Oh
DJ
God.
B Ferg.
Oh my gosh. I'll DJ all the.
Get
I
that
don't know.
license plate. Get the vanity plate. It's big down there. Be great.
Oh, jeez. Nope.
Oh, John also wanted me to ask. I can't leave without asking what
Yeah.
what it was like to be married by John Markle.
Oh my gosh, how does this not come up yet? In this podcast. Yeah, so John married my wife and I, and which is kind of funny because John isn't like a Christian or anything like that, and typically with like
He's like the polar opposite of that.
dude, he's like a very very like proud atheist and everything, and it's like, but I mean like, I
I don't know if he's an
care.
atheist. I don't think he's ever said that he was an atheist, but
He's
I don't know.
Yeah, he's not. Yeah, but like whatever he is and stuff, we didn't care. And it was my wife's idea actually because she was, my wife and I split up when we were in college, dating and stuff. And throughout all that time, John was the one that I would like confide in and all that stuff. And we got back together and 10 years ago or something like that. And yeah, my wife was the one that was like, "Can we have John marry us?" So we took John out to dinner and we asked him to be a groomsman first. And he was like, "Dude, like, man," I'm pretty sure like he teared up a little bit, and he like I didn't think he was expecting for me to ask him to be a groomsman. And so I was like, "So we wanted to first see if you'd be available to do that, but we wanted you to really be the one to marry us and stuff. You'll still be technically in the wedding party, but we'd be honored if you married us just because you know our whole story." And he's like, that I'm not like a Christian or anything, right? And we were like, we don't care about any of that. We don't care about any of that. So we got Pastor John ordained online, and
Pastor John.
yeah, Pastor John. And so it was perfect, because I didn't want a cookie cutter wedding. I didn't want anything like that. And so having one of our closest friends that knew our story, knew our history and stuff, that meant more than to have a traditional wedding to us. And even still, like, it was awesome, like it's, as you know, John is such a very like, he's like me. He's a sensitive dude. He puts a lot of thought into everything he does. And so when we asked him to do this, he didn't dilly dally around it and everything. He went all in. The stuff that he said and everything, man, I think I'm tearing up right now. The stuff that he said at our wedding and stuff, it was great. It was really nice to have John there. So,
oh, dude, that's so awesome. Oh, we got tears on after the gig. It's beautiful. I love that.
Sorry.
No, that's awesome. I mean, yeah, he's he's one of the best. That's why he's the best. So,
yep.
Awesome, man. Well, thanks so much for doing this. I love it.
Dude,
you're the best.
Thanks for inviting me out on this. It's definitely allowed me to step out of my comfort zone quite a bit. Being, I'm not used to being in the spotlight, so to speak. Even though we're on stage, moving microphones around a lot and stuff, I definitely have a sense of stage fright and stuff. So I really appreciate you allowing me to just to do this and stuff. It's definitely allowed me to grow a little bit. So I appreciate it.
Well, you're great at it. You did a great job. It's awesome.
Thanks. Awesome.
All right, Billy. I will catch you later. I'll talk to you soon.
Awesome. Thanks so much, man.
All right. See you, man.
See you, dude. Peace.
Oh, man. That was the dear Billy Ferguson. Got some tears in him at the end there. Such a great dude. You come across a lot of different people when you're on the road and when you're doing shows and when you're just doing the grind. And it's really important to remember that you're all just out here being human, and you're putting on a show and you're doing something that you love. It's you have to learn how to take yourself out of it, take the ego out of it, and just remember that it's all about the relationships, and you're with a bunch of people that are trying to do something bigger than themselves. So it's really amazing to see that from Billy, and just the relationship between Billy and John there, and what John did for them, and it's really, really, really awesome. That's one of the reasons why I love doing what I do. So Thank you guys so much for listening to the podcast this week. It's wow, that was a fantastic episode. So I'll leave you and see you soon.